Hello, everyone, and welcome to In-House Counsel Insights, which brings together in-house counsel in a range of practice areas to share experiences and tricks of the trade. On today's show, I've got Michele Lake, Associate General Counsel at Urban Oil and Gas Group. How are you, Michele?
Doing good.
All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us today. So first of all, just why don't you tell the viewers what Urban Oil and Gas Group does, just so that maybe they have a little background on the type of company you work for.
Yeah. So we are an oil and gas operator. So wells out in the field. We operate all of those along with we manage funds. So there's investors. So there's a financial aspect to it. And then also the day-to-day operational part. And so we
Okay.
get to handle all of those different things.
Okay. So when you went to law school, did you envision yourself working for an oil and gas company?
No, I did not.
What,
So,
why did you go to law school? What kind of lawyer did you think you were going to be?
well, I wanted to be a prosecutor, and then
Oh, that's very different.
I know. And so, in criminal law class, uh, one all year, I kept like siding with the defendant, which I know sounds bad, but I was like, you know what? Maybe prosecutor's not the way to go. And so I really was kind of unsure what I wanted to do. And my family's like in oil and gas, and my brother like wanted me to be an oil and gas attorney. So I finally took oil and gas 3 a year for the bar, and I loved it. So it like worked out. Plus, there's a lot of connections, so it just kind of worked out that way.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
So you never took a job in criminal law.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I,
So did you end up going straight into oil and gas after law school?
yeah. So in between passing or like finding out whether or not you passed the bar,
Right.
I went and worked as a landman for like 3 months. And then as soon as I found out I passed the bar, then I got a job as a title attorney slash
What?
transactional.
Okay. And so what does a title attorney do? Because I know that's pretty specific to a lot of just some states, and other states the attorneys may not understand what that means.
Yeah, so all my law school friends said that it's not like a real attorney because but it is, and pretty. So they were just jealous. So you you pretty much look at from patent to present day everything that has to do with a piece of property. And so that's tons of documents of run sheets of um, you know, thousands and thousands of documents. And it's all, and then you give your opinion if there's any like holes in the documents, like that an operator would want to know if they want to drill a well. So if there wasn't a probate or something like that, or if there's a gap in title, either way, you want to make sure you're paying the right, or an operator wants to know that they're paying the right people, that there's no liens on the property, and pretty much everything about it before they drill well and start making money on it and having to pay people on it. So that's what title attorneys do.
Why don't they just go through title insurance?
So they do have that as well, but this, I think a lot of insurance companies, for instance, when it's an oil and gas, like, and you're paying royalties and everything like that, you need, they want that security. You have to
Yeah.
get a title opinion. So
Yeah.
I think some of them, just the insurance companies require it.
Yeah. Yeah. You still have to have a lawyer look at it old school way, which is abstracting, going back and
That,
piecing it all together. So you're are you still doing title work now in your role?
no, but it did help. So, we deal with royalty owners, working, non-operator working interest owners. And so all of it gave me a good foundation of knowing the, I would say, the legal aspects of it, not really the real world logistics of it. So everything I've seen since then, it's like, oh, that's why that mattered, kind of thing. Like, this is
Yeah.
the real world application of kind of what I did, like seeing all of it, how it comes together now.
So how did you transition from a law firm environment to corporate environment?
So it has been a transition. There's lots of differences. I really enjoy the corporate worlds. There's, pros and cons to everything. But it was different having to work with different groups again, because before, you're just really mainly working with attorneys. And so you kind of all speak the same language. You all know what you're talking about when you ask a question. And then going in-house, it's like, oh, you kind of have to learn how to learn different languages. You have to learn accounting and kind of what they're talking about, and engineers and everything like that. So that part has been like a learning curve. That's a major difference, I think. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And how have you learned those different languages?
Trial and error, mainly.
Okay.
You realize after a while, sending emails or even just that it's best just to go in person and talk.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you can start everybody's making sense to the other person. So emails are really hard to read that through.
Right. Okay. So just
Yeah.
immerse yourself in person in their meetings, and then you just
Yes.
learn it.
And be okay with maybe looking down, like something that, even an acronym that's maybe known in the business world, like wasn't necessarily used at the law firm.
Yeah.
And like, I know something simple as like fire drill. It's like, huh, I can take it from context, but not everything you can do that with. So
Right.
yeah, you gotta be okay with asking questions and not looking like you know what you're talking about all the time.
Right. Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. The
Yeah.
humility. That's amazing, and I can definitely see that in you.
Yeah.
So tell me, you said the pros and cons. So what's your favorite thing about being an in-house attorney? Let's start there, and then tell us your least favorite thing about being in-house.
My favorite thing is definitely learn. I mean, it's not boring at all. I mean, you put your hands are in everything, and so every type of law, like you get like a deep dive in it, and uh, that's great. You're just never bored and always learning new things, and there's always a new challenge ahead. So you don't have time to get tired, I guess. Um, the worst or my least favorite thing about it is probably also the other side of that, is that it is kind of fun becoming an expert in something
Right.
and knowing all the answers. And so sometimes you just don't have time to do that. So you have to hand it off to outside counsel,
Mm.
or yeah. So, or being okay with not being 100% sure, having to be okay with 90% sure, because you just can't spend that much time on it. So,
Okay. And it's
yeah.
just knowing. Do you have any guidelines for knowing when to do that? When you should work on it yourself versus hand it off?
Um, if so, that's a fun little game I like to play. It's like if it's something really interesting that I don't want to hand off, and we have time, then I do. I
Okay.
keep it and I learn everything about it. If it's not that fun, then that's also pretty easy. But if it is fun, and there's just not time, that's when you can get it to a certain point, and then you hand it off to someone that you know that can take it to the finish line, outside counsel. So that's how I do it anyway.
So how do you choose your outside counsel? Or if you don't choose them, do you have any like tips for how outside counsel could maybe be better working with in-house attorneys? I've talked to many in-house attorneys that are very vocal on that topic, and I think this is partially your forum to discuss some of that.
Yeah. So it's all about who you know, I guess. Um, obviously old firms, people I've worked with. And then as far as new things, oil and gas you run into the same people over and over again. It's a very specialized thing. And so we had some Louisiana litigation, and I don't know anything about Louisiana,
Mhm.
but I happened to go to high school with a couple of my friends. They're twins, and they married some oil and gas guys in Louisiana that had some connections and found a great firm, and we love them that way. And then I'm going to go to the foundation. It's a big oil and gas uh, conference, and it's going to be Santa Fe this year. But so that's because we're in a bunch of different states.
Yeah.
And so, we're still looking like that part's, and as we're growing, we have more outside counsel needs.
Yeah.
That's going to be one way we do that. But I think as far as in the past, what we've done is it's all about, I know a guy, and that guy, knows somebody, but we're having to branch out now since we are getting so much bigger. So that's I'm still learning that.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And I found that too. It's still very referral based. You're not. I haven't talked to one in-house attorney or known one client at a larger company that goes
Mhm.
Googles to find their attorney.
No, I don't think I've found anyone that way. I would suspect that, so there's some specialized things that we need information on. And at this conference that's coming up in New Mexico, if there's any speakers on it or anything, I plan on going up to them and talking to them about it. So that would be one way too, is that's my next strategy or plan, is I'm going to try that. If somebody's specialized in enough to where they're talking about it at a conference, maybe them or someone at their firm, if they're too busy, could help us out whenever something like that comes up.
Is there anything in particular in the relationship that you look for with outside counsel, or that maybe any pet peeves that you have, any billing type things, or just anything else?
Yeah, I mean, so I really appreciate like straightforward, direct people that I don't like long-winded like big emails and things like that. And so there's some very talented attorneys that communicate that way, even like, really long emails and things like that. So that's kind of having to set our expectations. Like, you know what, we just need three bullet points.
I know.
And yeah, that's so that
Yeah.
one's kind of hard. And so I've only been at Urban now for 2 years. So it's like I've observed, and now I'm setting up like, we're kind of setting up processes and how we want the outside counsel relationship to work. And so, things like that, helping with communication, just needing quick summaries. And that's probably my biggest pet peeve, is having to talk on the phone for maybe 30 minutes and still not really knowing exactly where we're at.
Yeah, I find a lot of that's like an age thing, a generational thing. I've noticed a lot. People more our age want just email, short. I don't,
Hmm.
we don't need a book. And then if there's a quick 5-10 minute follow-up call on a point, then that's fine. I find that sometimes the older attorneys want to get on and, have an hour discussion on everything.
I think that's absolutely correct. And that's what's gone on in my experience as well.
Yeah.
Like, much,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Knowing your audience, and knowing how to communicate with different, different ages,
Generations. Yeah.
generations. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And they're so, so knowledgeable that it feels offensive to be like, hey, I just kind of want the highlights. So, but so you're just gonna have to listen, and you gotta play it, like, and figure out when you to say something and when you shouldn't. Mm.
So I'm going to segue. So as an in-house attorney, you need to add value, right? We
Yeah.
want to add value, and I felt that way when I was an in-house attorney. So, are there ways in which you try to add value to the business?
Oh yes. I feel like that's, we do in legal offsites, I think once every 6 months or so, to really kind of go back to the basics on, like, we are a financial manager for these funds. And so you know, adding value and thinking about, we also want to protect the company, and that adds a great value, and anticipating potential liability
Yeah.
is, the main ways that we do that. But also there's being in, I think we have like 150 employees maybe
Yeah.
overall. That's just big enough to where we've got our hands in a bunch of different things, but
Right.
in-house we aren't limited. I mean, we get to help with business strategy and business ideas,
Right.
and so that's extremely exciting, and that's a really fun way to add value.
So you're saying essentially just keeping your finger on the pulse and being able to be there all the time and just kind of weigh in on different things.
Yes, and becoming knowledgeable enough to where, I mean, we don't get to make the ultimate decision,
Right.
obviously, but knowing what's going on, what's up and coming in the industry. There's some exciting things happening in the industry, and knowing the legal aspects of that and making sure we're having those covered is a great way to do that.
Do you go into an office or are you remote?
Oh, no, we go into the office 4 days, Monday through Thursday, and then we work from home on Fridays, and we quit at 12, or we're supposed to. So,
Okay, yeah, because I was curious about, keeping that finger on the pulse if you had to be remote and what that might be like, but you don't have that issue.
no, we go in, yeah, 4 days.
Yeah,
So
and do you think that's
it's
helpful being in the office to be with those business people and be in the meetings and
oh, well, absolutely. I think that uh, it's a balance, right? I could probably, I mean, if it was up to me, it would be probably 2 days working from home, maybe three, because there you do need that time of just complete quiet and
yeah,
diving in. Uh, but 3 days in office to be able to have meetings and meet with people, and if you have something, just being able to run, down the hall and ask them a question instead of having to wait is great and very helpful. And you get more knowledge. I mean, you end up getting more information that way as well.
yeah, I know, I find you get more information too, just things just kinda pop up that don't pop up on that agenda talk that you have.
Yeah, it's much more free form. You're right.
Freeform, that's a good way of
Yeah,
putting it. That's a good way of
yeah.
putting it. So you have, 1-year-old at home?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great.
So
But
how
it's
is
been.
Go ahead.
I was saying, yeah, that's been an adventure too. So.
It totally is. I've been through it, um, you know, uh, but yeah, it's juggling that. So how is that? How is being, um, you know, female in-house superstar and a mom with a baby at home?
uh, yeah, that's another. Everything's. I was gonna say everything's about winning. No, everything's about learning how to do your best. Like, I think as attorneys, it's pretty common trait to want to be the best at whatever it is you're doing. Not necessarily doesn't mean in competition with others, but you're almost in competition with yourself. Like, you
Right.
don't like to let yourself down.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the hardest part of, like, I think being pregnant was even worse.
Yeah.
It's like you just didn't feel good, and
Right.
you just don't have the energy. And now that's not really the case. I have way more energy. But it's, I still want to be 100% at every single thing I do. And there's got to be some give.
There
And
has to be
it's
some.
figuring, yeah, you have to figure out where that give is going to be, because it can't be all your alone time. Like, you still need to, like, work out if that's important to you, and so, and your marriage, that's important to you, so it's trying to find where there's some give, and you need to be okay with not being, just the absolute best. I haven't done that at work yet. I still, like, that's a thing, but I take my breaks when I can,
Yeah.
and, like, vacation's very important.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Did you ever have that culture in the law firm environment where taking a vacation and not working was like week somehow? And then have you, okay, you're nodding. And does it feel different in-house, at least in your experience?
Yeah, thankfully, the general counsel and just the whole culture aspect is very big on, obviously, because we work from home on Fridays and do a half a day. So, but also taking vacation is very important. We're doing a lot of exciting new things, and when we're there, we're working the whole time. There's not a whole lot of breaks and everything. So, if you don't take vacations, you will get burnout, and you probably, you won't make it. I don't think I don't remember working at the law firm, anybody ever being like, you have to, remember you need to take all your vacation every year, because we
Yeah,
don't
right.
remember
I don't remember that either.
anybody saying no. I don't remember that ever being. You still had to bill your hours. So yeah, that's different. Also, not having to bill hours is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you. Well, Michele, thank you so much. Is there anything you wanna add? Do you wanna close with anything, or are we good?
um, I think we're good. I think,
Okay. I really
yeah,
appreciate you being with us today, sharing
yeah,
about work-life balance and how you transition to from outside to in-house counsel and your experiences and what you do. It's been great.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
All
So.
right, you're welcome.